Welcome to MidLife Matters, where we celebrate women's wisdom and wit. I'm Georgianne Lucier, your host, and I'm delighted to introduce today's guest, Lindsay Jessup. She is a Wallingford native, and she is the Manager of Community Advocacy at Connecticut's Veterans Affairs in Rocky Hill. So welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you, Georgianne. Thank you very much for having me here today. I'm honored.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. You've been in this position a little over 2 years. Let's talk about the range of services that your role encompasses.
Yes. So my role is Manager of Community Advocacy. It's a very multifaceted role in the sense that I cover a lot of key functions for the agency. I serve as the communications lead for the agency, the legislative lead, public affairs. I do a lot with volunteers and donations. So it's a very busy role, but one that I'm very honored and humbled to do on behalf of the agency.
Wonderful. And let's talk about some of the groups that I know you told me about, and we have some photos that have been part of all of your activities and bring the community in and build awareness.
Yes. One of the things that I've really tried to do in my first couple of years with Connecticut Veterans Affairs is expose the public to our veteran community and vice versa. So it's been very humbling for me to be able to bring in groups like our Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. Our Girl Scouts are very generous. They love to bring cookies to our veterans. And instead of just having them drop them off, I thought, why not come and hand out cookies during dinner time for our veterans?
Nice.
And really the interaction, not just the veteran and then public interaction, but the multi-generational interaction was so impactful, and not just for the Girl Scouts and our veterans, but for the parents of the Girl Scouts to see. And really, it's just a wonderful hour where there is that camaraderie, and our youth and our young people get to learn about veterans. We also had our Boy Scouts come and do an Eagle project, and they brought handmade garden boxes for our skilled nursing home, and they were wheelchair height, so they are accessible to our veterans, and they handmade these. And again, it was just another great interaction where our community, our youth feel like they're giving back, and we get to reap the benefits of that. So that was a great experience. Just being able to, I think, connect our younger folks with veterans. I really believe that we have not been a country at war since World War II, really, where the country is immersed. It's always been something that happens on foreign land, and I don't think our young people today really understand what it means to be a veteran, what it means to serve. Freedom is not really free. There is no such thing. So it's been important for me in my role to bring that element to our students and our young learners. We also had a reading last year with the commissioner and the governor, and I was delighted to be able to do that as well. It just so happened that I have 2 young children, and I thought, let's start small and let's bring the commissioner to the school, and he read to each grade. And not only did he read to each grade, he brought pictures of his kids, and they got to see the impact. This is my dad, and he's going off to war now, or he's being deployed. And I think that really hit home to a lot of the kids. Governor was able to stop by and read some books as well. It's resonated with me to be able to do those things in my role. It's very important to, I think, have that public perception.
And that requires a good deal of creativity on your part, so that must be part of the fun of the job, right? Thinking up things and having the ability to make things happen.
Yes, well, I'm very lucky that people send me a lot of great ideas via email or phone call, and then the wheels just start turning, and you think, okay, how can we make this into a ceremony or event? How can we continue to be able to do this? So for instance, we had another school reach out asking about Veterans Day, and we have a board of trustees with Connecticut Veterans Affairs, and it was out in North Windham, and I know that we have one of our BOT members that lives in Mansfield, very distinguished woman, Air Force veteran for over 20 years, and I said, would you like to do this, Dr. Cotton? And she said, absolutely. So again, it's exposing others to the agency, what we do, and really bringing people together. That's really been a key, a driving factor for me in my role and what I've tried to really do in the last couple of years.
Welcome to MidLife Matters, where we celebrate women's wisdom and wit. I'm Georgianne Lucier, your host, and I'm delighted to introduce today's guest, Jackie Downing, who has a key role in the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven, and she also volunteers with the Whitney Players Theater Company. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you.
And you've worked with the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven for about 14 years, and you're now the Senior Director of Grant Making and Nonprofit Support. Mm-hmm. Please share some of the rich history of the foundation, how it got started, and some of the interesting things about how it's evolved.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about community foundations in general before I get into our foundation.
Sure.
Our foundation is almost 100 years old. We were founded in 1928. But community foundation concept started in Cleveland mid-19-teens, about 1914, when a
Okay.
couple of trust bankers who were managing funds had money left to them. And the people who left the money said, "Can you please take care of getting this out to the community?" Well, the trust banker said, "We know how to manage money, we know how to
Right.
invest it for you, but we don't know how to give it out in the community." So they created a community endowment. Finding people who would know how in the community to disperse the money in a way that it would work with the community. And that was a community foundation. It took us another 14 years to get it here to New Haven. So in 1928, we created the community endowment with our trust bankers and have been managing those donations that have come to us since then, since 1928. Our first donor was a woman, Nettie Dayton, who made the first grant to the Community Foundation. Nettie was an unrestricted gift.
Okay.
So her money is doing all kinds of things in the community that Nettie could never have envisioned.
Oh, yeah.
Things like the need for technology, the pandemic we just went through.
Right.
She never could have envisioned that. We made our first grant out with that not long after. It's arguably made to the New Haven Symphony because they were around back then.
Okay.
And we have been doing that for the last 96 years, taking folks' money in, holding on to the corpus of it, and putting into the community and responding to the needs of the Greater New Haven community.
As you say that, that's interesting. Banking underwent such a major shift. I imagine you've worked with different banks, right, since that time?
We have. It originally started, I believe, with 14 trustee banks, and they have, over the decades, merged and combined. And
Right.
So we're down to just a few trustee banks that work with us now. We've also, and that's the old model of a foundation, the trustee model.
Okay.
We've also have a corporate side, so the donations come directly into us as opposed to going into a bank.
Okay.
So we manage the corporate side. Our trustee banks still manage those things that were placed in trust with them all those years ago. And a donor can do it either way they'd like to do that. We manage the money and put it out into the community, and that's what the nonprofit support and grant making side of what I do is.
Okay, so there's a whole fiscal end now to the foundation that probably wasn't there initially. It was probably all done more with the banks, right?
Correct,
So you've
right.
kind of adopted that responsibility.
Yes.
I think when we spoke, you told me funds for purposes such as things as milk and coal.
You're right. We talked about the provision of milk and coal. That was Mrs. Silverthau.
Okay.
Her gift came in 1942. So milk and coal? Coal, not so much anymore. But we decided that Mrs. Silverthau wanted to keep people warm. So with her funds, to this day, we still do energy assistance. We, as the Community Foundation, could not say, "Hey, you know what," to the estate of Mrs. Silverthau. There are more important things. We're going to just change your wishes. We will steward those wishes in perpetuity. So if a donor places their money with us, they can trust that it's always going to go to their highest and best interest.
Right.
Now, we like those unrestricted gifts that allow us to be flexible, but there are plenty of needs and opportunities and challenges in the community. So if you like the arts, you like working in the environment, you want to work with children or elderly, there are always going to be those needs. So we can always find ways through our grant making to get that money out into the community.
Great, and I imagine the milk portion means nutrition, right?
Right, so food assistance,
Yeah.
food banks, food pantries. Back in the day that Mrs. Silverthau gave us that money, there was not milk in schools. This was pre-milk in schools.
Okay.
It was later that they figured out that's how they should get calcium into young people, by putting it in the schools. But this predates that.
Great. That's an interesting history. Thank you. So grant making is not all you do. It's only part of what you do, correct?
That's right.
Welcome to MidLife Matters, where we celebrate women's wisdom and wit. I'm Georgianne Lucier, your host, and delighted to introduce today's guest, Pam Landry, who has 40 years' experience as a radio host and many other talents. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you, Georgianne. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. I just appreciate it so much for you to be on this side of the camera. You've performed many roles in radio, behind the scenes, on air. Currently, you're on this WOW station that comes out of a Toyota studio, so we'll talk
That's
about
right.
that. And you're also a personality, alternative music at 107.1 The Peak, and you do voice work. So those are some of the main categories. That is unusual, of course, to have a station in a dealership.
A little bit, yeah.
And how did you and your co-host, Brian Smith, get involved with that?
We call it WOW Radio CT,
Okay.
and you're correct. It is inside Toyota of Wallingford, which is a car dealership on Route 5 here in Wallingford. Brian and I had worked together before years ago. We were on WPLR in New Haven. Steve Zion, who owns Toyota of Wallingford, he redid his dealership, which is an amazing car dealership. It's got playland in it for kids. It's got a video arcade. It's going to have a restaurant. It's going to have a nail salon. It's going to have a beauty parlor, all these things. And Steve has always loved radio and has always advertised his car dealerships on radio.
Okay.
So he said, I have this space in this great dealership. How about a radio station? And he asked Brian and I, because we know him from way back, if we'd like to be involved. And we said, sure.
Okay.
So there we are. It's WOW Radio CT. We're online at wowradioct.com. You can download our app, and the station's on 24/7. Music, which is 70s, 80s, some 60s, some 90s rock. And then Brian and I do shows.
Tell us about the state of the art, radio
The
station.
studio
Yeah.
is amazing. It was built by our friend who's an engineer, Ryan Krupa, who is an engineer at ESPN. And Brian and I had worked with him before. And Steve hired him to come in. He designed the studio, which is incredible. Your husband was in there a few weeks ago, Bill. And I tell people, with all the years that I've spent, and Brian says the same thing, in a number of different radio stations, this one is the nicest one I've ever worked in. It's massive. We've had 5-piece bands in there. We had the entire Hamden High School girls basketball team in there.
Okay.
We can fit a lot in there. No expense was spared. We have top-of-the-line equipment. It's a great place, and it's right in Wallingford.
Who
Anybody
helped-
can come by.
Great. Who helped design it? Because most people wouldn't know what would be very satisfying for a host to have.
Well, Ryan, who is the engineer, designed it, and he's
Okay.
worked in radio at a number of different radio stations and in studios. And he, along with Steve, talked about, Brian and I had some input too on what we thought we needed.
Yeah.
And together the plan came together.
And in terms of the shows that you do, I know you sent me some photos. It looks like you've had, in addition to, say, a basketball team, animals, like a goat,
Yes.
maybe a snake. So tell us I know you do a lot of community,
We do.
goodwill community events.
Yes.
You mentioned my husband's there, as a veteran.
Vietnam vet, yep.
Yep.
Brian and I do a lot of things. Brian is doing a morning show from 8 to 11.
Okay.
And Steve, the owner of Toyota, joins him a lot of times on that show. Then at 11 o'clock, I come in, and Brian and I do a show from 11 till 3. This is Monday
Okay.
through Friday. And then we rebroadcast that show from 5 till 9. So we're booking all kinds of guests, from community people to chambers of commerce, nonprofits. We've had people from WPAA-TV and a lot of live local bands come in.
Nice.
And there's so much talent musically in Connecticut. So that community has really grown, and it's helped us get the word out about what we're doing as well. And there's nothing better than having live bands in the studio. We are a commercial radio station. If anybody wants to advertise on wowradioct.com. But corporate radio has a lot of rules and regulations that we don't have to deal with because Steve believes in us. He hired us to do a job. We can have a band come and play live for an hour, which is not something you're going to hear from a lot of radio stations these days.
Okay.
It's just not done that way. And yes, we have had farm animals,
Including a baby goat.
several baby goats.
Okay.
There is an organization in Cheshire that deals with primarily autistic children, and they brought a couple of their therapy goats in. Unfortunately, the goats kind of made a mess